Well, it's that time of the year again. It's been 3 months, a quarter of a year since the latest chapter dropped, and we don't have any official teasers for the next chapter. Instead, we have a bunch of small details that all add up to give us just enough information on it for a while. We even have a lot more info on chapter 6 right now than we did this time last year for chapter 5, and this time 2 years ago for chapter 4. The problem though is that they're all scattered about the internet. So I went around and gathered absolutely everything we know about chapter 6 and compiled them into this video. So stay tuned if you want to know everything we know so far about Poppy Playtime Chapter 6. So let's start with what we know from the ending of chapter 5, which is where we will start off in chapter 6. We start off in some IT data place that has the backup of the Doctor. Giblet is also here after pulling us out of the gel and reviving us. This means that the characters confirmed for chapter 6 so far are the player, the prototype, Poppy, the Doctor, and Giblet. As for Chum, he kind of vanished halfway through chapter 5, and Huggy and Kissy are probably dead, so we don't know for sure if they'll return in chapter 6. Oh yeah, and I forgot, Globey is in chapter 6 too. Cue Doctor inside Globey theories and memes. But speaking of that, the Doctor has a pretty good chance of being our ally in chapter 6. I mean, our goal for a good portion of this chapter was finding this backup our dear ally Giblet was urging us to find. But at the same time, the Doctor might remember us and what we did, since the last thing he said seems like he knows that we killed him, otherwise it just seems out of place.
Well now, this is a rather interesting turn of events.
But whether he is going to be an enemy or an ally, or if he even is still alive or just a computer program based on him, is one of the biggest mysteries in Poppy Playtime right now, and we probably won't get the answer until chapter 6 comes out. But where will chapter 6 be located? Well, there is one location that seems to be the most likely option: a whole underground city. Yes, a whole city hidden beneath the Playtime Co factory. There are two main pieces of evidence that this will be the case. The first one was discovered on the same day that chapter 5 came out. In the game files, around the area chapter 5 ends, there seems to be a city. But if that isn't enough to convince you that chapter 6 is going to be in this mysterious city, Mob posted this grand artwork of all the Poppy Playtime characters. Behind the prototype, there looks to be a city in the background. The fact that this is specifically behind the prototype and only spreads far enough to be around him, and the fact that he is going to be the main threat of chapter 6 seems to be solid proof that chapter 6 is taking place in a city just like the city in the game files. But if you're thinking that this was posted way too early to be considered a hint for chapter 6, we can go back to this artwork. It was confirmed by the artist Amber Loves Bugs that the Doctor being on a small TV was hinting at his return in chapter 5, and him wearing a jester hat was a hint of the prototype being a jester. This was posted only a little over a month after chapter 4 came out, and this other artwork with the city was posted almost 2 months after chapter 5 came out, which means that it's not too early for chapter 6 to have small hints like this. It's just too early for full-on teasers and trailers. But why on earth are we going to a city in a toy factory? Well, I'll be going over that later, so make sure you stay around for that. Now let's talk about the ending. The ending of chapter 6 is most likely going to be the end of the entire game, as chapter 6 is most likely the final chapter. The reason why I say this is because the devs are already alluding to the ending of the entire game, even when talking about the ending of chapter 6. Most of this comes from Mob's senior creative director in the many interviews he's done in the past few months. He's talked about the ending of the game being satisfying, the stories not being dragged out, and even gives us reasons why chapter 5 didn't end up being the ending, because the details of the story changed, so chapter 5 was a turning point instead. But if this doesn't feel like chapter 6 is the ending for you, the CEO of Mob himself, Zach, said that we're in the third act of Poppy Playtime. Typically, stories are split into 3 acts, the third being the final. If there are 6 chapters, the split would be even. Chapters 1 and 2 are Act 1, chapters 3 and 4 are Act 2, which makes chapters 5 and 6 Act 3. So chapter 5 was a major turning point in the final act, the prototype being revealed and finally taking Poppy away, which leaves the next chapter to be our quest to get her back, defeat the prototype, and end the story. But how will the story end? You might think that we have zero information on this, but we actually have 2 little hints in official work that both hint to the same thing. In the recent Mother's Day artwork, The hidden message in Morse codes reads, "Ashes, ashes, we all fall down." On the cover of the updated version of the orientation notebook revealed by Target, we can see what looks like burnt stuff in the background. Both of these hint at a great fire happening, especially the first one that says everyone dies. This could be a reference to the Safe Haven's explosion, but with the rest of the Chapter 6 hints, and the fact that Safe Haven is pretty irrelevant now and Mummy Longlegs being here when she wasn't part of the Safe Haven at all, it's likely a reference to Chapter 6. And for Poppy, the character the game is about, her goal is to burn down the entire factory, so that being an ending is very possible. The last thing we know about the ending is that there are talks among the team about there being multiple endings, but it looks to be unlikely. Whatever the ending is, something interesting said by the director is that some people have made correct theories based on little lore details we have so far. So there are people out there who have correctly predicted some things that will happen in Chapter 6, and that could even include the ending. But what about the most important aspect of Chapter 6, the quality? From what I've seen, people think that the quality of the chapters rose up until it peaked in Chapter 3, then declined from there. But it doesn't look like Chapter 6 is following this pattern. Since Chapter 5, Mob Entertainment has been hiring for a lot of different positions that help make games good. These are Game Director, Senior Technical Animator, Senior Technical Artist, and a bunch of other positions having to do with mostly pre-production and a few production. So it looks like a lot of talented people are gonna be joining Mob. We don't exactly know if it's all for Chapter 6, but Poppy Playtime has always been their main focus, so it probably is. So that's everything that's pretty much confirmed. But there are a few things that I could have put into the confirmed part of this video, but for each their own reasons I couldn't. First thing I want to go over is the release date, because according to Twitter, a developer said that they're aiming to release one chapter per year. With every chapter so far except Chapter 3, they did come out the year after the last one, so it is expected that Chapter 6 will come out in 2027. But the reason why I couldn't include this as a confirmed fact is because I can't find the original source for it. Like, most of the information I gave was originally found on Twitter, but I went looking for everything. This is the only one that I can't find the source for. So if anyone can find which developer said this and where, it would be greatly appreciated. Okay, now we can talk about the characters that will be in Chapter 6. Specifically one that many people think is still alive but is pretty obviously not. Lily Lovebraids. Lily is someone who, like, half the fandom believes is still alive and will return in Chapter 6. Only because of her talking about her hair growing after you die in the cutout after she dies. But this just seems like confirmation that she's dead, and either way, we saw her die. If there was a mini-boss from a previous chapter that would return, it would be PJ, since he's most likely still alive. It seems to be a theme in this game that, if we don't see them die on camera, they have a high chance of returning. So Lily is probably not returning. I know there was a Chapter 5 console achievement revealed recently that said, "Escape Lily Lovebraids," but that really just means nothing. Oh, and we have to talk about the potential of new characters. New characters get introduced in every chapter, and a lot of people complain about it, saying that it doesn't make sense that we haven't seen them before, and they should use the existing toys like Candy Cat or Boogiebot. But the thing is, for every person who complains about these, there are like 50 fanworks of these characters. I've seen people who complain about the existence of these characters like Lily or Giblet make their own fan content of them. So I really doubt that Mob will stop introducing new characters solely because of a few complaints, because it seems like most people like them. And the fact that Chapter 6 is most likely a city means that there's a lot of opportunity for new characters to be introduced. Also, in case you were wondering, the reason why they don't reuse those toys from Chapter 1 is because they were made solely for world building without any thought given to the mechanic, story role, or horror potential. And the reason that we haven't seen Chapter 5 characters until Chapter 5 is simply because Mob hasn't thought of them yet, and Poppy Playtime is a chapter-based game. They plan it as they go. So anyways, we need to address the elephant in the room, the long-awaited player identity reveal. It's been established by the former director that they have been thinking about giving the player an identity, and it looks like in each chapter there's little things about who they are that makes it feel like this character is their own person and not just us. So I feel like we are 100% getting the player's identity revealed in Chapter 6. Trust me on this one. Remember how I said that the location of Chapter 6 will probably be that underground city? We still need to figure out why that is. In Chapter 5, the prototype says that the orphans are in a better place. Most people thought that this meant that they were dead, but better place is capitalized in the captions, which means that it's probably an actual place in the game's world. I personally think that this better place is that city, something built by the prototype to home the orphans for reasons we might find out in Chapter 6. And this also means that the orphans are probably going to be seen in Chapter 6. But I don't know if they're fully alive at this point. Who knows what the prototype made them into at this point. And with that, that's everything there is to go over about Chapter 6. So as you can see, this is indeed the most we've known about a chapter only 3 months after the previous one's release. I'm sure we're going to learn more about Chapter 6 as time goes on leading up to the first real teaser, like in the Lily Q&A happening with IGN soon. But for now, if you want more updates and other Poppy Playtime content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and come back for future videos.